Borderlands 4 is finally here, and with the embargo officially lifted, I can finally start sharing my thoughts on the game. One of the biggest questions I've seen floating around is whether Amon, the series' first true melee-focused Vault Hunter, is actually worth playing. After spending well over 150 hours with him, I have a lot of perspective to bring to the table, and today I want to walk you through exactly what I've learned. What's up guys, my name is Forever, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to be giving you my honest take on Amon, what he does well, where he falls short, and ultimately whether he's the right choice for you in Borderlands 4. This video should give you a good perspective of where he stands among the Vault Hunters, and with that said, let's dive right on in. Alright, so first things first, before we dive into today's video, down in the description and on screen, you'll see my links to Twitch and of course right here on YouTube. As soon as the embargoes lift, which is right now, I'll be streaming Borderlands 4 live, playing Amon and answering whatever questions you might have about him, or just anything Borderlands 4 related. I don't usually get a huge flood of viewers, so if you stop by, chances are you'll actually get your question answered in real time. Now, instead of dragging this out like most YouTubers do, let me answer the big question of the title right away. Is Amon worth your time? And my honest take is, he's not a bad Vault Hunter, but he's not the kind of character that just clicks immediately for everyone. He takes a lot of investment in specific playstyles to shine, and depending on what kind of player you are, he may or may not be worth it for you. And what I want to break down in this video, not just what Amon struggles with, but what he really shines at, and what that means for you if you're trying to decide whether to pick him up. When it comes to his strengths, the first thing that stands out is his ordnance. Even without stacking everything into that part of his kit, his ordnance consistently performed well, and in Borderlands 4, ordnance isn't just grenades, it's miniguns, dual barrel explosive rounds, and all kind of heavy projectile based weapons. Amon handles all of this really effectively. If you enjoy that high explosive heavy weaponry hitting playstyle, then building around his ordnance is easily one of the best ways to actually get value out of him. I can't stress this hard enough that I have never heavily invested into his ordnance, and he has been consistently very strong irregardless of my build with him whenever he pulled out his ordnance. And keep in mind, he does have a ton of things on his trees that scale it, and in my opinion, if there's going to be a powerful build for Amon, it's definitely going to be around his ordnance, and I really think that's something you should look into. Now, when it comes to other strengths, status effects are another area where Amon feels strong. You'll probably see in my gameplay footage that I often leaned into his gunplay because frankly it felt much more impactful than his melee kit. Shooting with Amon consistently applied solid status effects, and it made fighting smoother compared to trying to force a melee build. Melee, at least in my experience, just doesn't have the payoff to justify the investment, while gun plus status really did a good job. On the defensive side, Amon is a really solid character. He's by far the best defensive character in my opinion. His walls can block projectiles for a decent stretch of time, and definitely if you build into it, you can have it up permanently, and they're reliable enough to give you and your team some breathing room. But with that said, like most video games, damage is king. So unless you're in the early game and you just want to protect someone to deal damage for you, I don't really see this being valuable long term, but nonetheless it is really good for that early game or team fight composition. Maybe if they add raids or something where defense is important, I can see that being the case, but overall you're probably not going to really care about his defense once you get to the later parts of the game when you're actively farming. In summary, he's not a throwaway character, but he's not the easiest Vault Hunter to get into either. If you're the type of player who love explosive ordnance builds, status-based gunplay, or don't mind trading a little bit of raw damage for a bit of defensive utility, you'll probably have a good time with him. But if you're looking for someone who dominate right out the gate without much build crafting, Amon might feel a little underwhelming compared to the other Vault Hunters. At the end of the day, he's a niche pick, and whether he's worth it for you depends on how much you enjoy leaning into that niche. Now, let's flip the conversation and talk about why Amon struggles, and in my opinion, what makes him the weakest Vault Hunter in Borderlands 4. And the biggest issue, and probably the most disappointing one, is his melee. This is supposed to be the core fantasy of his kit, the whole reason you pick him, but in practice it just doesn't hold up. And to be clear, that doesn't mean he can't function or he can't do good damage with him, but if you're expecting a melee focused build to perform on a high level, you're going to be very disappointed compared to many other Vault Hunters. The reality is that melee builds in modern gaming often run into a same problem. Developers want them to feel powerful, but compared to ranged builds, they almost always end up clunky and underwhelming. But with Amon specifically, there's a few big reasons why. First, he simply doesn't have enough raw damage. The talent tree that offers meaningful damage require heavy investment, and the trade-off is that they suffer from terrible sustain. His action skill uptime is a nightmare. very long cooldowns, high drain on his onslaught form, and only a couple of morphs that even offer the ways to refill it. And often those refills are usually kill gated, meaning you can't rely on them in boss fights or against enemies resistant to your elements. A prime example of this is his fire focus onslaught morph, which is that entire tree. If you're up against shield heavy enemies, it kind of falls apart and you have a very hard time sustaining it. And I've yet to see a tool that can do it outside of having stems or very specific talents. And I'm talking about like your proficiency to like 30 plus is when you'll start being able to do something like that. So it just is not practical for most Amon players for a very long time to be able to sustain this, and even when it is, it's very clunky and you could have just pulled out a gun and just shot them. Then there's the defense problem. As a melee character, Amon has to get right in the face of the enemy, which means naturally it puts him in more danger than ranged vault hunters. That means you're forced to spend skill points on defense to set up your damage just to stay alive, so you're already behind when every fight starts. On top of that, his melee itself is just kind of bad. It has long windups, it does less damage than simply pulling the trigger on your gun, and worst of all, you can't shoot in melee at the same time. It's kind of mind-boggling. You have to decide if you want to shoot or if you want to punch, and this can lead to bad like combinations with a lot of weapons. And 9 times out of 10 I want to shoot over punching, because punching just doesn't do enough damage versus 1 second of shooting my gun. To make matters worse, his skill tree are overloaded with conditional passives. When I tallied them up, 6 out of 11 of his early skills in each tree are all conditional, and that means over half of his passives require you to meet specific criteria just to get value. And compared to Harlow, who in a lot of her early trees only have like 3 out of 11 being conditional, and the rest that are conditional are very straightforward, always on bonuses, and they have conditions like entangling enemies, things that are very simple and easy to do, where Amon, for example, are often kill gated or tied to narrow states like being at full health or things like that. So that makes him inherently weaker when you first walk into a fight, and often weaker overall compared to his peers. For example, Harlow gets a flat 20% elemental bonus, 20% status chance, and then 20% something related to cryo. Amon can push that up to 30, but that's after he stack up kills, meaning it will go away over the course of a couple of seconds. And keep in mind, he's not getting that status, he's not getting the cryo benefits. She's gonna just walk into the fight, blow everything up, which this is like Borderlands. That's what you do. You go in and you want to kill the boss as quickly as possible. He has to ramp up ways that he probably can't even ramp up reliably in boss fights, and he just is overshadowed by a lot of the other vault hunters who have this just passively available. Now this theme repeats across his kit: clunky melee, unsustainable action skills, defensive tacks, conditional passives that make him feel less efficient in the moment. And while there are even more issues we could dive into here, like the way class mods and legendaries are designed, at the core, Amon just embodies all the common pitfalls of a melee character. And that's why fundamentally, despite him having insane potential, if they can fix things, in my opinion, he's just the weakest character in the game. Now, I want to be clear, and I really hate making videos like this because it feels negative, and I know a lot of you are excited to play him, but he's a really cool character. I enjoy playing him because I just enjoy melee at his core. I just really enjoy it. I enjoy exploring the game and playing it and having fun. But the thing is, if you're looking for efficiency, you know, farming faster, clearing content quicker, and blowing things up with minimal investment, Amon just doesn't stack up right now compared to other vault hunters. And by the time you invest in him to be able to do that, like comparatively to other vault hunters, it's gonna take him significantly more effort, and you could have put a quarter of that into other vault hunters and very likely get significantly more result from it than picking his melee focused skills. That's just the simple reality of Amon. He's not worth playing, but expect to put a lot more effort into making him probably be less valuable than the other vault hunters. Keep in mind, I am playing the press release version of this game, and the balance changes are already coming. I know for a fact Harlow is getting a massive balance change, one that I can't really talk about. You'll probably see footage of it in the coming days. It was egregious, but it had to happen because characters like her is like just so overtuned, and that just actually shows that they are tuning the game, and there's a very real chance that Amon may see some buffs. So hopefully we'll see them down the line. If you're thinking about picking him, don't write him off completely, but be aware that right now he feels a little bit undertuned compared to the other characters, and is sadly par for the course for any melee focused character in the game. And there you have it, my take on Amon after 150 plus hours. He's a really cool, unique character with a unique playstyle. He's not the strongest, but if you can build around his ordnance, maybe his status, and a few other things, you can really see him shine. I, of course, will be actively building around him to make his melee work if that's possible. With that in mind, I'm very curious to know what you guys think. Are you excited to play Amon? What do you think about my thoughts on him? Do you think he's going to be worth playing? Maybe I'm missing something. Whatever you think, let me know down in the comments. Maybe I can try it since I'm a little bit ahead of you guys. Don't forget to come by the stream. I'll be live streaming, answering all your questions and testing things out. I'll be covering Borderlands in depth for a very long time, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Leave me a like, all that good stuff. It helps the channel out. My name is Forever. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next Borderlands video tomorrow.